Okay, so continuing the video, well, I was just talking about in part one how what we're dealing with when you decide to get when you start to dive into the occult, or not even just the occult. It has to do with MGTOW as well, which I'm going to bring up. The point is, whenever you start to explain things that are unpopular to people and already what they believe, a good way to think about this is that there's a firewall that comes up in people's minds whenever you try to explain something to them that kind of goes against what they've grown up to believe or what they believe themselves. And when you start to try to break through that firewall in people's own psychology, you get attacked by viruses or defense, mechanisms. You can call them viruses. Just as an example, that information gets attacked by viruses, and then, those viruses would be what you would call belief systems, and then people try to explain away the information that's trying to come through, and people it doesn't get through to people. That's why it's so difficult to try to explain some things that are unpopular to people in their belief system about just unpopular opinions on things. And so you get attacked by viruses trying to go through that firewall that people have set up. That'd be their belief systems, their way of thinking, the way the way that they grew up. All those things are obstacles that you are faced with, and so you do pay a price when you try to talk to this stuff about people, especially when you try to tell your family about some of this kind of stuff. Just realize it, because I went through it too. I tried to tell close family about this stuff. At least one close family member. I haven't told all of them, just one, about the occult and MGTOW, and you know what? You're not going to get any kind of positive response. You're just not. People have set their minds, and people have been so brainwashed by the institutions, the entertainment news, and entertainment period, movies, TV, all that stuff, music, and other things such as things that go on social media. People have been so brainwashed by those things that to try to get through to them is almost impossible. The only way that people really start to open their mind to the stuff that's going on around them is whether or not they come to that conclusion themselves. That's kind of what I found, because nobody forced me into learning about the stuff I learned about. Nobody, said you better learn this or else, or whatnot. I came to these own decisions myself. Whether or not there was something guiding me towards learning certain things, I could believe that. I could fathom that, but nonetheless, I came to the point myself, and I came to my own opinions and conclusions about things myself through many hours of research, many hours of talking with myself about, contradicting my own thoughts, and also discussing it with other people, learning what they think about it. I've come to my own conclusion about how this place works and what everything's kind of about. So I just want to kind of explain that to people that are that they want to listen. So the whole point is, just be advised. You're going to be met with a lot of resistance trying to explain this stuff. My advice to you, honestly, don't try to tell your family about it. They're not going to understand. They just won't. Especially religious people that are believed that have their firm belief in religious mindset. It's very, very difficult to try to get through to those people. Just a curiosity. Like I said, why do churches, they have something in the front of a church called an altar. Well, an altar is what they sacrifice people on. Why the hell would a church even come near close to naming something out of that kind of thing? I'm sure they know about that stuff. I mean, give me a break. Why would they talk? I mean, why would they name something like that? The point is that there's so much going on behind the religious side of things that everything's a fraud. Okay, it's a fraud. It's all run by the same people that run everything else. What do you think, that they would mess everything up except that institution? That's like the biggest way they get people. They get people that way via the way that they think about how spirituality works, opening their mind to research different possibilities, like Are there parallel universes in this world? Do we live in a multiverse? Can people time travel? I mean, this stuff, they don't even begin to raise these questions. As far as my belief, I think everything is possible here. And yes, all those things I just listed are possible. Because we live in such a complex environment. It's not just humans and animals and a bunch of bad people hurting people. It's much more than that, trust me. Way much more than that. This world's more complicated than just the surface level of things. That's where they've tried to keep our minds. On just the surface level, not to scratch deeper into the paint and see what's underneath the paint that they try to cover up. And you see this giant logo which leads to something else, which leads to something else. They don't want people looking that direction because it discredits their institutions. It discredits their institutions, and they lose money. The religious business is a multi-billion, trillion-dollar business. It's up there in the numbers. They make a lot of money off of lying to people. And they're not going to stop anytime soon, trust me. Not with the money they're making. Forget about it. And the people that run it, too. They're not just going to stop everything because a bunch of people, because somebody felt like they needed to do some good and actually tell people what's going on. No, they're not going to do any of that. So my advice is just, just don't even try to tell your family, because here's the other thing. This is what I'm going to talk about with MGTOW as well. I'm sure all of us here have had experiences, whether or not you're a guy out there who's maybe tried to explain to a woman what feminism is really about and how destructive it is. You know what kind of resistance you meet with trying to tell somebody about that kind of crap. They don't want to listen to it because they have already in their mind established what they want to believe and how they think that things work. They don't have an open mind. They're not curious. They're not searching. They believe one thing, this is how it is, and forget about it. Everything else is a lie. And they're not willing to open up their mind to different possibilities. Yeah, we know what that's like. We know how these feminists are so hard-headed. It's kind of like what you're trying to explain some of the occult stuff. The same thing happens. And probably even worse, too, because you're dealing with such far-out stuff that people can't even conceive in their own minds that is even happening. It's a big shock to the system, trust me. So trying to explain MGTOW to guys, too. Trying to explain to them, how marriage is a lie, it is a failure, it is an institution of corruption and deceit. And that even if you decide to have children under the best intentions, you're going to be met with lies, and you're going to be screwed over. Because they're not telling you the truth, and they're not telling you why they're doing the things that they're doing. It has nothing to do with helping you. Forget about it. You're meaningless to these people. We're all meaningless to these people. They don't care about us. They view us less than human, in the literal and the legal sense. They view us less than people. They treat us less than people. We're not even humans and considered in their eyes. They consider us golems. In the legal sense, they do that by creating things, that go against every fiber of morality and rights that a human needs to have. They tax us. They do, they take children away from men. All for this evil mechanism that's running this place. And if you want to look at it from the perspective of currency, which is energy, it's the same thing. Because something's got to keep all this going, and it's not just money. Because money is called currency. Currency meaning electrical. Okay, that's the whole nother aspect of what money really is. It's an electrical force. So currency is being fed into this mechanism because it has to keep going. And so everything's about power and money and currency and this whole force of energy that keeps this whole thing going. So there's a whole nother side to it. And that whole nother side is about power and currency, meaning electrical force. It's a current being generated via the things that people do. And so when you try to explain this stuff to people, you're met with that firewall. You know, you want to help people out. I think it's the best of human nature to want to see people do well and to help people out. But you're going to have to realize you're going to encounter resistance, and it's really going to test you. It's going to test you in a lot of ways. And I think, like I said, you have to think about this stuff. This isn't a decision to take lightly. When you try to tell when you try to tell your family about this kind of stuff, or friends, it will affect whether, you're taking a gamble. And I took a big gamble bringing this stuff out into the public on my channel. How people are going to perceive it. Are they going to completely brush it off? Yeah, there's going to be a small, not everybody's going to agree, I get that, but there's going to be might be a small group of people. That's all I'm speaking to is that group of people. But you're not going to get a mass popular amount of people jumping on the bandwagon as far as things continue to keep going down this path of meeting resistance and not having people have more of an open mind to things. And also be able to entertain an intelligent mind and entertain a thought without it becoming a belief system. Because the more that you know, the more you realize you don't know. That's how complex all this stuff is. It isn't all just something you can put in a book. You can't just put all this information into a book and say, here you go, here's how everything works, here's the secrets and meanings of life. No, it's years and years and years and years of studying. And even after all those years, you still don't even scratch the surface. But trust me, you'll know a lot more than the rest of the people that do, whatever else they do, watching sports and all this crap. You'll have much better of a head start, so to speak, or a understanding that you can apply that to your life. And this is why I brought this stuff into the MGTOW scene, because it's about men going their own way and it's about bettering your life. Trying to live a better quality of life, because we realized that our quality of life wasn't very good to begin with. So bringing this stuff out, I feel, is a way of having people have a more better quality of life. Because you have a better quality of life by having more knowledge, and by having more knowledge, you can conduct yourself in life better. Because you have more information to work with. If you just have one part of an assembling manual, you're not going to have the whole thing put together the way it should be. So, just like I said, realize what you're getting yourself into. Don't tell your family about it. It's pointless. It's a waste of time. Like I said, I've tried to tell close family about it, and it's not a good result. Not a good result. Didn't ever have anything positive come out of that experience. They didn't go, oh yeah, I can see how that could work. No. Nope. When I tried to tell this one family member of mine, forget about it. Didn't work. And so you pay the price, because people will look at you differently. Most people that are kind of closed off in their mentality, and they don't actually, think about it. They'll think you're just crazy, or they'll think you're, like I said, loony, or, you're just talking gibberish, or you're watching too many movies. Okay, yeah, whatever. Just let them say what they got to say, because they're never going to understand. They're not going to understand the complexity of what you're actually studying. So it's like I said, man, it is a road that you have to take by yourself. It's a lone wolf road. It's a lone wolf road going MGTOW. Not everybody's not jumping on the MGTOW bandwagon. It's a decision that you really have to think about. It doesn't take much thought after you've realized how much you've been screwed over. But the difficulties that you're going to have when you go out in the public and when you live your life and you see just the atrocities of what single motherhood has done to the children of America, what the divorce court has done to innocent men that didn't deserve what they had to go through, and young teenage boys that are going through a lot of tumultuous times. as a guy, and you're just doing nothing but acting upon your instinct, liking girls, wanting girls to go out with, wanting to have sex with girls. It's all instinct. It's perfectly normal. Nothing wrong with that at all. But the responses that they get in the world today are nothing short of complete atrocity, torment, and agony that these poor guys have to go through because of what the belief systems, a closed off mind, and lies and brainwashing and propaganda have done to these people to get them in a position that they're in. It's difficult. I want to see people do well. Sometimes I don't think there's any hope left. I'm always skeptical about that because I've seen so much horrific things of the lies that are told to us on a daily basis. It's hard to see any kind of way out of this. But, whatever happens with that, we just have to wait and see. I don't know, we really can't be 100% correct on anything. So who knows what's going to happen? The only thing you can do is what you're doing now. Trying to achieve success and trying to just know as much as you can and as much truth as you can, and go your own way and try to make the best of all this while you can. Try to make the best of your life and not fall into the pitfalls that a lot of other people fall into. Like letting certain patterns that you used to have, like, fucking that single mother and not realizing the repercussions that could bring. When you just start to become more aware of what you're doing and how that's going to end up impacting your quality of life and how you do well, you have to make that decision. Am I going to continue to keep going down a path of lies, or am I going to go down a path of truth, even though it's not going to be fun or light or kind or anything like that? It's going to be a very difficult road. And trying to explain this kind of stuff to most people is you're just not going to get through to them. So in that lies a lonely path for most people. The path to success is often a lone wolf one. There's not very many people there. And that's where you test that's why I like to look at that as a good thing, because that's when you really can test your abilities. You can really test what you're made of. When those difficult times arise, let's see what you're made of. Can you keep going? Because if you keep going, you're going to do well. If you can't, then you're going to fall back. So, to sum up these videos, I just wanted to add that other addition to this, disclaimer before you look into anything or you dive into anything. Just realize what you're getting yourself into. You can't really tell this kind of stuff to very many people. Going off the street and trying to raise awareness to all this crap is pointless. Forget about it. Trying to tell family about this kind of stuff, MGTOW or anything else that is unpopular, you're going to run into a lot of obstacles to various degrees. The more crazy the information, the harder it is it's going to get through to people. So the path is not a smooth, it's a very jagged, dangerous one, in the sense that you're putting a lot at risk trying to explain this stuff to people. And sometimes I have the mentality that I just tell people, you know what, I'm going to say what I came here to say, and if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. I'm not going to fight people on it, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince people, because once you got it, you got to get it, and you got to run. You got to learn as much as you can while you can. And there's no point in wasting your time on people who don't want to open their eyes. And it's not that they don't want to, it's just that they're not allowing themselves to, you see. And that has to do with the whole brainwashing stuff and propaganda and certain patterns and belief systems that we've all fallen into traps of. And it just somehow that some people are able to break free of those versus other people. So as MGTOW, or as people that study the occult, or as people that just simply want to better themselves, it's a difficult path. The more information that you get, the better off you have of being able to conduct yourself in the manner that you need to go a certain way that you want to achieve in life. And the final thing I want to say is that I guess it has to do with this, but friends are, when you start talking about friends, close people, close acquaintances of that nature, keep it as such. You know, don't try to be a hero. Don't try to come out with something revolutionary like talking about how the world's a fucking Saturnian matrix and we live in an artificial reality and everything here is run on vibrational frequency, that Satanists practice satanic rituals to interact vortexes which transmit energy via ley lines that lay below the earth that conduct energy. That energy is then transmitted into different planets which relay frequency, which in return basically is why people have certain mood patterns like the moon. And the moon, you know, that's why they call people lunatics, because it has to do with and how the moon affects water. Moon affects when a full moon's out, it affects the tides of the water. People are made up of over 90% water or something of that nature, high percentage of water. So is the area of the head. The brain is encased in water. Wouldn't it be a crazy, wild idea to think that maybe the moon has something to do with the way that you behave, and maybe that's why they call people fucking lunatics? Luna as in lunar ticks. Just maybe. Just maybe. Oh, no. No. People don't want to hear that. When you start talking about all that stuff to your friends and family, it's kind of, just forget it. You're not going to get anywhere. The good thing about the internet, though, is it has allowed people with these kind of belief systems. I shouldn't say belief systems. I'm still ranting and raving about people that still believe in some of the crap that they believe in, but people that have an open mind are able to get together and talk about this stuff without really having too much agony, so to speak, trying to figure out, you know, if there's other people that think alike. But so I just kind of wanted to talk a little today about that, and hope you guys enjoy the video. Love to hear your guys' comments, and hope everybody has a good one.